Is the former Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Obasanjo, to see now is President Julius Maada Bio is in the hall, and the set.
Vice President of the United of Nigeria and now Vice President of the Republic of Senegal.
Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone has just accompanied the former Vice President of Nigeria. They are seated here, and anytime from now, we expect the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone to come on the podium to start this particular event. Of course, as I was saying, the theme for this particular event is from vision to impact. We know currently the government has an agenda which is called the Big Five Game Changers of the current administration, wherein Feed Sierra Leone is key. We have the jobs for young people, creating 500,000 jobs. We have revamping the public administration, also technology and infrastructure. So, of course, in here are a lot of well-knowledge people who are going to talk on various topics. You know, the word itself, colloquium, is derived from a Latin word, lico, which means to talk. So they are under this same roof, politicians, academics, and diplomats, and the like. They are here to discuss on various issues relating to governance, economic, education, leadership, and the like. So it's going to be a very busy day as the president is organizing this particular maiden leadership conference. So it's going to be a busy day at the Bintu Man International Conference Center. And we expect to learn a lot of things because we have a lot of expertise in this hall. And also, it will be also like a moment wherein the government will have to showcase some of the deliverables.
The Honorable Vice President, distinguished guests, please rise for the arrival of the special guest of honor and celebrant, His Excellency Dr. Julius Maada Bio, and the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Fatima Mandela.
The President, Julius Maada Bio, and the First Lady. So this a surprise package for the president. You know, today the president turns 61.
We'll now proceed with commencement of the program, and I invite Ms. Marina Semi and Ashley Bar to commence the program. To our host and hostess for this program.
Yes.
Please, may we rise to pray. Pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Peace be with you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us a new day in our lives. We thank you, Lord, for all the blessings you have showered upon each of us. We thank you for your non-stop guidance and protection. Without you, Lord, we are nothing. We also thank you for giving us the chance to gather here today for our true King. We thank you for the people who are here today. Fill us with your presence, Lord. May we be enlightened with your wisdom. Clear our minds, O Lord, and allow us to do the best we can. We equally ask for some share of your divine blessing and protection on our President, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, on the occasion of his birthday. Dear Lord, watch over him as the apple of your eye. These and many more intentions we ask through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for the blessed speech. And now for the Muslim prayer, I'd like to invite Sheikh Ibrahim Bari.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, most gracious, the most merciful, peace and blessing be upon our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would like to quote chapter 2, verse 124. Allah says, recall when Abraham, the Lord tested him in certain matters, and when he successfully stood the test, Allah said to him, indeed, I am going to appoint you a leader. Therefore, leadership is given by the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On this occasion, we would like to pray to the Almighty Allah to bless and guide His Excellency the President. We pray to you, Allah, to give him the support, the inner strength, the courage to do what you have appointed him to do. We pray to you, Allah, to support him and will not support against him. We pray to you, Allah, to give him victory, and we pray to you, Allah, to protect him, and we pray to you, Allah, to safeguard our peace, our unity, and our solidarity and national social cohesion in this country. We pray to you, Allah, for this unique leadership colloquium to be successful. We pray that the deliberations will be in line with the vision and the goals of His Excellency the President. We pray for our honorable former Vice President of the Republic of Nigeria to stay in peace and to add safe labor to this country. We pray for our partners, for our international development partners, and we pray for all of us to be successful. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Ibrahim Hari.
Exactly, so I think that's one thing we all should be very proud of, because in other countries, to be quite honest, they don't admire us Sierra Leoneans how tolerable we are in terms of our religion. Yeah, so I think we should be proud of it.
Yeah, sure. So let's keep the program going. Mr. President, Madam First Lady, the former Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, distinguished guests, let us now invite to the stage Vice President Dr. Mohammed Junaid Jawo for his opening remarks.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, my boss, my First Lady, Your Excellency, the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished ministers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Let me first take this opportunity to state categorically here today that I feel very honored to be given the privilege to formally welcome our esteemed guest to this maiden edition of President Julius Maada Bio Leadership Colloquium. These distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is done in his honor and to celebrate his 61st anniversary. But more importantly, we are here today to celebrate leadership, to celebrate the journey of His Excellency the President. From his formative years, through his role at the National Professional Ruling Council, a former president and a leader of the great ZPP party and now president of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think I must remind you that as a student of politics, one of the subjects that continue to attract widespread attention and debate is the subject of leadership. For most of the leading scholars around the world, leadership tends to look at leadership from different angles. Some scholars, like ordinary observers, would focus on what they call leadership style. Some of the critical scholars will talk about the critical elements, the vital elements of leadership. And some others will assess leadership essentially from the point of view of impact. But I must say that most popular scholars focus on the transformative power of leadership. That means they look at leadership from the bottom top and the top bottom approach to combine that approaches to our understanding of leadership. In most times, leadership is defined by the movement, it is defined by the environment, and more importantly, it is defined by value system. Today, I want to believe as somebody that I've known His Excellency for a couple of years, and I've had the opportunity to work very closely with him. I must say his leadership style is largely influenced by his value system, by his education, by his upbringing, by the social dynamics and his life experience. It is in this vein that I believe that also affected and influenced to a large extent his policy choices. His deep belief in human capital development, people-centered leadership is as a result of those value systems that have shaped his experiences over years. His governance style is also largely influenced by that value system. Today, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you realize that in every leadership story, we ask ourselves the question of what the legacy of that leader is. In the case of President Julius Maada Bio, it is a story of building human agency. I want to reflect on the room that we are sitting currently 10 years or 6 years ago. They were devoid of women, of young people, and other marginalized groups. Today, President Julius Maada Bio has brought these voices to the table. He has given them a seat. Our investment in championing women's rights, in driving technology and innovation, and in education at all levels, is intended to give the average Sierra Leonean the opportunity to control their own destiny. We have spent a lot of money, education, in health. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we continue to believe that we have shifted in our development focus from giving handouts to giving people the ability to fish for themselves, to take their own destiny in their own hand. The current realities, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the world today have conveyed to us that we have no choice but to prepare our people to compete both at home and at the global stage. This is the legacy of President Bio has been. Today, we measure it in the years we spent on education, on the number of maternal deaths that we prevented, the laws that we have passed to protect women, the data centers we have built. Tomorrow, we will measure this legacy in terms of the young men and women that President Julius Maada Bio has given opportunity to serve at home and at the global stage. In addition to all of that, is the style of leadership. While his focus has been on young people, his style is also geared around that. He placed young people at the center of his work. He gave young people the opportunity to serve and to be able to carry that focus. For President Julius Maada Bio, governance is a journey. It's an unending journey that he has started. For him, the journey must go on. For young people like us, I'm a young man. For young people like us, the journey must continue. The journey must continue. So that is the legacy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, today we have no better person to deliver the guest lecture. The statement that the former Vice President of Nigeria. When you look at Nigeria, for some of us who had the privilege to study in Nigeria and study Nigerian government and politics, that is a country, a great country, giant. But every time we look at Nigeria and you see, we put Nigeria into a spectrum. For some of you that are social science students, you can understand when we talk about the methodology of a linear analysis. When you put Nigeria in the spectrum, you look at Nigeria's history, you realize Nigeria's history is always the deep understanding of the problematic dynamics of leadership. And this is a man who has served twice as Vice President of that country. But not only that, he is a professor. The only opportunity, he never went to the University of Ibadan. He never had the opportunity to attend my school. He The great University of Ibadan I went to, he went to the University of Lagos, but Ibadan will still honor you, Mr. Vice President. When you look at his legacy, when you look at Nigeria, and you look at this maiden edition, today we are starting in Sierra Leone to celebrate the birthdays and the birthday of our president in such a very fine environment, and also to be able to position a discourse around leadership from vision to impact. We must realize that for His Excellency the President, governance, like I said, is a journey. He has focused on young people. He has placed young people at the center of this journey, and this journey must continue. Professor Osibajo has got immense experience understanding the importance and the dynamics of leadership in a country that is a giant country, in a country that has got huge potential to drive Africa, to drive the sub-region. So today, I want to personally welcome him, and more importantly, tell him how excited I am for him to come and deliver a statement in this maiden leadership colloquium. Your Excellency, you're welcome, and we are very pleased that you are here. You are here to deliver the statement. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on this positive note, I want to welcome all of you, and I must say, for His Excellency Dr. Julius Maada Bio, governance is about the future, and that future is what has shaped his value system. It is what has shaped his policy choices. Today we are placing resources at the center. Not only to focus on youth and young people, but also getting young people to understand that this is a journey. And I want to assure him that the journey must continue, and the journey will continue. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me to say that the journey must continue. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Distinguished guests, I think we can move it around the world. Thank you very much. Now, just to set the tone of why we're here, this event basically is organized by a group of friends of His Excellency to support his leadership role in Sierra Leone and, of course, the region. Up next is a documentary titled Dr. Julius Maada Bio, From Cradle to Greatness. Basically, that is looking at his journey and impact. Let's watch.
President Julius Maada Bio is the 5th President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. First elected in March 2018 and re-elected in June 2023.
Adam Ami Navo Bio, fondly called Ye Ami, she profoundly influenced President Bio and instilled in him the values of hard work and the importance of education. This deep commitment to education is something that President Bio has made a key objective throughout his life, and particularly in his presidency when he prioritized access to free, quality primary and secondary school education for all Sierra Leoneans. President Bio's education owes everything to his mother's deep belief in learning and his supportive late elder sister Agnes Dane Jallow, who was a teacher. President Bio was sent from his birthplace Tihon to live with his sister Agnes in Pujehun, a bigger town where he could take his selective entrance exams for secondary school. His sister Agnes guided him to gain entry to the prestigious Bo Government Secondary School, popularly known as Bo School, where he soon became admired for his hard work, maturity, discipline, and calmness. He was voted prefect of discipline, and at the end of his 6th form year, he was presented with a highly coveted Principal's Proficiency Prize. President Bio scored good O and A level grades when he took the West African Examination Council examination, known as WAEC, and was eligible to go on to attend a top university of his choice. Instead, he was drawn to a military career in public service, and therefore he enrolled as a cadet at the Benguima Military Training Academy in Sierra Leone. He graduated as a second lieutenant in 1987 when he was still only 23 years. His first deployment was to Cambia district to support the government's effort in implementing its economic emergency program. His task included combating smuggling and related crimes, worsening across the Sierra Leone-Guinea border at the time. In 1990, a civil war brewing across the border in Liberia, prompting the West African region to establish a peacekeeping force called Economic Community of West African States Monitoring Group, otherwise known as ECOMOG. President Bio, a platoon commander in the Sierra Leone Armed Forces, was sent as part of Sierra Leone's ECOMOG contingent to support the peacekeeping efforts in Monrovia, Liberia. The following year, the armed conflict spilled over in the eastern region of Sierra Leone when a group of rebels from the Revolutionary United Front, known as RUF, began an armed uprising. President Bio and his unit were recalled home and redeployed to the eastern region to counter the RUF's rebellion led by Foday Sankoh. Sierra Leone had since 1968 experienced authoritarian rule and the suppression of dissent under the then ruling All People's Congress Party, APC. By 1978, a new constitution made the ruling APC the only legal political party in the country, turning an already de facto one-party state into one backed by law. Matters came to a head in 1992 when a group of young and determined military officers decided to intervene in what they considered a brutal dictatorship which oversaw a crumbling nation and plunged the country into decades of political and socio-economic doldrums. President Bio was one of the brave young military officers led by Captain Valentine Strasser to overthrow the dictatorship of President Joseph Seydou Momo in a bloodless coup and then start a process to restore multi-party democracy. In the newly formed National Provisional Ruling Council, known as NPRC, President Bio served as Chief Secretary of State, Chief of Defense Staff, Minister of Information, Minister of Maritime Resources, Deputy Head of State, and Head of State from 1992 to 1996. He was determined to be a force for change to help end the years of corruption and inefficiency. He had no intention of replicating the brutal and corrupt government he had been a part of overthrowing. That was demonstrated when Strasser's leadership began to spin out of control and become increasingly untenable. Captain Valentine Strasser was removed in a bloodless palace coup, and President Bio effectively controlled the government on January 16, 1996. He set about ending the war raging across the country, restoring the ailing economy, and returning the nation to stable democratic rule in a multi-party system. Although he was only head of state for 3 months, he was able to enter into the first peace talks with the elusive RUF rebel leader, Foday Sankoh. In a famous radio broadcast, he offered to meet with Foday Sankoh anywhere, anytime, and without prejudice, and offered his rebels amnesty in searching for peace and democratization. President Bio galvanized international support, including the backing of the presidents of Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and Ghana to bring Foday Sankoh to the negotiating table and end Sierra Leone's civil war. His diplomatic initiative convinced Foday Sankoh and other high-ranking RUF rebels to attend a first round of peace talks in Yamoussoukro in the Ivory Coast terrain. After overseeing Sierra Leone's first democratic elections for 3 decades, President Bio handed over power to the newly elected President Hamad Tidiane Kaba in March 1996 against strong opposition from trusted colleagues and friends at home and abroad. Even as a former soldier, he is resolute in his belief that the army has no place in politics. He put his belief into practice by walking away from power as soon as his goal of handing over to a democratically elected president was complete. He resigned from the military and lived in France for 6 months, studying French and public administration before proceeding to the United States with his family to further his education at the American University in Washington, D.C. He earned bachelor's and master's degrees in international relations and politics. About 2 decades later, President Bio became a senior research fellow at the University of Bradford in the United Kingdom, where he was pursuing a doctoral degree in peace studies before the urge for public service to his fatherland led him back to Sierra Leone in 2017. After his studies in the United States, President Bio returned to Sierra Leone in the early 2000s, followed in his mother's footsteps, and became a prolific entrepreneur and philanthropist. He successfully established the cocoa and coffee trading company, Tropical Farms Limited, and ventured into pharmaceutical and diamond businesses. His entrepreneurial flair created employment opportunities for young Sierra Leoneans and supported numerous students through formal education. President Julius Maada Bio has had a long walk to achieving political leadership. He joined the Sierra Leone People's Party, the SLPP, in 2005. He was soon seeking election as the party's leader and presidential flag bearer, an ambition he finally achieved in 2011 after years of dogged perseverance and fierce opposition from within the SLPP. In 2012, he fought a national election to challenge the then incumbent president Ernest Bai Koroma of the APC. Although he did not win, he received 37% of the vote and managed to establish the SLPP as a significant national opposition party. In 2018, as the presidential flag bearer of the SLPP, President Bio fought on a message of giving Sierra Leone a new direction and gained 52.8% of the votes to win the presidency in the runoff election and set about implementing his new direction mandate. In 2023, after 5 years of transformative leadership, he was handed a more decisive victory by Sierra Leoneans, securing 56.17% of the total votes cast to serve his second and final term as the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. While in his first term, he championed human capital development, prioritizing the provision of access to free, quality primary and secondary education, and strengthening tertiary and higher education. His second term is anchored on an agricultural revolution through the government's flagship program, Feed Salone, an initiative designed to boost agricultural productivity, fuel inclusive growth, increase local food production, and promote food security for the country. President Bio can be likened to President Nelson Mandela as a servant leader who pledged to put the needs of the people first. Since his return, his government has been firmly delivering on its promises to Sierra Leoneans and putting words into action through its development programs and initiatives. A leader of few words, he is renowned for letting his accomplishments do the talking, which is why he is often referred to as the talk and due precedent. Promoting democracy, the rule of law, and good governance are also central to his presidency. He is committed to an open and transparent government accountable to citizens. He believes there is no legitimate government other than one that is by the people and for the people. He applies this commitment of good governance to his work in the rest of Africa and the broader world as a respected Pan-African and global leader. Under his leadership, Sierra Leone has continued to gain acceptability on the world stage. President Bio's term culminated in the country's election as a non-permanent member of the Security Council to serve for the period of 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2025 after over 50 years. Part of his Pan-African vision entails the advancing high-quality education opportunities that prepare the next generation of the 21st century world and breaking down gender barriers to give girls complete access to education. As co-chair of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4 High-Level Steering Committee, he has pledged to ensure inclusive and equitable education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. His commitment to increasing girls' enrollment in schools has solidified his position as a champion for the Global Partnership for Education and Foundational Learning. His mission is to see access to equitable, quality education become a foremost global priority, and he's working with other global leaders to achieve this. He remains optimistic that this transformation will be achieved in our generation. However, he is keenly aware that our world is facing enormous challenges, from the war in Ukraine and food insecurity to political tensions and climate change. President Bio has never forgotten his mother and his sister's profound role in his education. He remains indebted to them for the opportunities they gave him to learn and equip himself for life's challenges. His mother was not formally educated, but a visionary who dreamed of giving her children goals bigger than those she ever had access to, which drove her to send her children to school. She instilled those dreams into President Bio, as demonstrated by his commitment to providing the same educational opportunities for every child in Sierra Leone and building a generation of productive citizens with access to opportunities to fulfill their highest potential and improve their quality of life. These dreams extend not just to Sierra Leone, but to the entire African continent and beyond. President Bio embodies statesmanship in its proper form and lends credence to what is achievable with the combined will of the people and a committed leader. He is a winner of many global and continental awards, including the African of the Year 2022 by the African Leadership magazine in the UK, African He for She Champion of the Year 2024 from the Dr. Joyce Banda Foundation, amongst other awards in recent times. President Bio is married to Madam Fatima Bio and is a loving and devoted father. He instills the value of education, humility, hard work, and belief in God in his children. As he marks another year on earth, he looks to the future with much more optimism and renewed hope for the great possibilities ahead. He knows there is no time to waste in positioning Sierra Leone and Africa on the road to greater success. Like when he called on rebel leaders to embrace Sierra Leone's peace process in 1996 and led the country from dictatorship to democracy, he remains ready to work with all who want socio-economic progress and prosperity in the Republic of Sierra Leone, Africa, and beyond.
and prosperity in the Republic of Sierra Leone, Africa, and beyond.
President Julius Maada Wane Bio is the 5th President of the Republic of Sierra Leone.
I'm sure those of you who have watched this documentary know exactly the journey that our president has taken over the years. Once more, let us give a round of applause. That's the story of ordinary Sierra Leone, starting from the beginning to becoming the number 1 president of this country. I think that's a great achievement. I think we must be proud of our president. He gives us hope as a people. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is our keynote speaker, who happens to be the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. He was born in 1957. He happens to be the 14th Vice President of Nigeria from 2015 to 2023. He was also the former Attorney General in Lagos State during the governorship of the current President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The former Vice President talked for a while, talked long, and also he was able to combine 2 professions. He was both a politician and also a religious man, a religious scholar. So he served as a divine caller at the Redeemed Christian Church of God. It is very central for us to see politicians becoming religious leaders, but he was able to bear these 2 paths. So let's give a round of applause for that. The former Vice President is also a very good politician. He acted as President of Nigeria when his boss, the former president, took medical leave, and the Vice President was asked to step in, and he served as President. And during his tenure as President, he was able to take some very bold and decisive decisions that hurt some members of the political class. But because he believed in what he was doing, he was able to take some of those tough decisions. So, ladies and gentlemen, the former Vice President also survived an air accident. He came out of an accident, and he said to those who were with him, "Thank God we are on horse." I don't have enough time to introduce this great personality of Africa, this great son of Nigeria, someone who has contributed greatly to the development of Nigeria and Africa as a whole. He is a friend of Sierra Leone, a friend of the current President, Dr. Julius Maada. Let me remind you that what we are witnessing here this morning is being organized by friends of President Julius Maada, those who admire his leadership skills, the leadership that he has shown this country for the past 7 years. Remember when he came to power in 2018 to now, what the country has witnessed and what Africa has also witnessed. For example, he's the chairman of the C10 in Africa, where they are calling for Africa to have its own representations in the United Nations. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are proud of our president. Let us welcome the former Vice President of Nigeria, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo.
Thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Maada, Your Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Mrs. Fatima Maada, the Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Mohamed Jude Diallo, the Speaker of Parliament, Lord Chief Justice, Chief Minister, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, let me begin by expressing my heartfelt congratulations to you on the occasion of your 61st birthday. And I will say that it's not often that we see a sitting president choose to mark such a milestone by convening a gathering of this sort, one that is focused not on just celebrations, but a conversation, not just any conversation, but a conversation on the future of this nation, our sub-region, and indeed our continent. The idea and practice of people-centered governance, the idea and practice of people-centered leadership. A few months ago, I had the pleasure of discussing this very subject with you while we were both attending an event in Barbados. It was clear then, and it remains so now, that this is more than theory for you. It's a pathway that you are fully committed to. And I also want to thank you for the honor of the invitation to be the keynote speaker at this first ever Julius Maada Bio Leadership Colloquium. I'll be speaking briefly on the theme of the colloquium, which is from vision to impact, the people-centered leadership model. From vision to impact, the people-centered leadership model. So what do we mean by people-centered governance or people-centered leadership? By people-centered leadership or people-centered governance, we are referring to a development paradigm that places the needs and voices of the vast majority of people, particularly those at the bottom of the pyramid, those who are considered to be poor and vulnerable, at the heart of policy making. The African Union's Agenda 2063 affirms this vision, and it calls for development based on self-reliance and the self-determination of the African people with democratic and people-centered governance. So this is so when we say people-centered governance, we're talking about reimagining leadership, not as the power to rule, but as the duty to serve. Not as the power to rule, but as the duty to serve. But why is people-centered governance not just ideal, but imperative, especially in our own sub-region and in our continent? To answer that, we must first understand the socio-economic context that we are confronted with across Africa. Our countries are striving for structural transformation while grappling with growing poverty and unemployment and debt. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, an estimated 55 million more Africans have slipped into poverty, with 39 million falling into extreme poverty. Youth unemployment is staggering, with up to a quarter of young Africans who are neither in education, employment, or training. Simultaneously, 20 of the 39 African countries that are eligible for concessional borrowing are already at high risk or are already in debt distress. Africa is in the throes of the worst debt crisis in 80 years. Now, this economic distress is accompanied by an alarming surge in insecurity. The Sahel, as you know, has become home to the world's fastest growing and deadliest terrorist groups, accounting for nearly half of deaths from global terrorism. West Africa alone is reeling from the waves of insurgencies, armed banditry, and kidnapping. And add to this the democratic backsliding that we're witnessing. Coups d'etat in Burkina Faso, in Mali, Guinea, and in Niger. These reversals threaten the democratic progress that we have made since the early 2000s. And disturbingly, segments of society are becoming more accepting of unconstitutional changes, because they feel that democracy has failed to improve their lives.
The reality is stark. A growing number of Africans, especially young people, feel alienated, angry, and unseen. From the EndSARS and End Bad Governance protests in Nigeria to the Gen Z uprising in Kenya, there is a mounting frustration with government. Voter turnout is declining in many of our countries. Extremists
exploit the despair of the jobless across the continent. People
question whether governments exist for them at all. As the Nobel laureate Amartya Sen rightly pointed out, political freedom must translate into social and economic freedoms. Elections alone do not constitute
democracy. True democracy must deliver dignity. It must deliver food on the table,
education for children, and safety on our streets, and hope for the future. But the good news is that the majority of our people do not want military rule. In 2023, the UNDP conducted a perception survey of 8,000 African citizens in order to better understand how citizens felt about military groups. A key question that they asked was,
what was their preferred option for governance? Over 89% of citizens said that democracy remained their preferred style
of government. In fact, only 11% of citizens in countries that had even experienced unconstitutional changes of government preferred non-democratic forms of government. So the issue is not whether we want democracy or not. It is how the political practitioners of democracy, those of us who are politicians, can ensure that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, does not forget the aches and pains of the people. To make people-centered governance work, we must move decisively from top-down, elite-focused strategies to bottom-up, inclusive development. But the first requirement is political
government at the highest level, committed to governance that ensures that the bottom of the pyramid will be the first consideration
in policy and planning. In fact, the distinguishing feature of states, countries that have grown successfully and that have nurtured democracy is leadership
that has a vision for society and that can effectively demonstrate its commitment to growth, to social development, and to the
provision of public services. So the leadership class must reframe the national discourse
and come up with a mobilizing idea for society, such as an ideology of democratic development. So success in this regard must be accompanied by strategic communications
in order to tell the story and keep the population on side. Governance can get greater public understanding
by sharing strategic intent and by showing how policies that have been adopted will help to improve the lives and livelihoods of people. The second point
in coming to grips with people-centered governance is that budgets and fiscal policy measures must intentionally prioritize the needs of the poor and the lower segments of society, who of course are in the majority. So such budgeting will prioritize mass education, generalized access to health care, which of course are key for building the human capital of economies. It would also extend to social protection and support for economic sectors like agriculture and small enterprises, which will promote direct job creation and financial inclusion for vulnerable sections of society. It will also include people-centered justice schemes that make justice accessible to the poor and vulnerable. Such budgetary expenditures are not mere social costs, but they're actually high return investments in human capital and in inclusive growth, which is an important component, of course, of people-centered budgeting itself. So providing for and implementing maximum pro-bottom of the pyramid initiatives is a critical part of people-centered government. Now, these are initiatives that channel direct benefits to the poor and vulnerable. Examples are homegrown school feeding programs. This is a farm-to-table program that provides jobs from farmers to aggregators and cooks. And then free meals, at least once a day, to children in school. In Nigeria, in 2016, we adopted the homegrown school feeding program. And we're feeding 9.6 million children every day. We met the nutritional needs, and in some states, primary school enrollment went up by 40%. Also, we implemented conditional cash transfers to the most vulnerable. The government enterprises and empowerment program was managed by which was managed by then Bank of Industry. It was an award-winning microcredit scheme covering over 2.4 million informal traders. In addition, we had the Empower program, affording employment to over 500,000 young people. And Mr. President, this is similar to the Youth Empowerment and Promotion Livelihood Program, and which Your Excellency launched in 2024, and is already benefiting hundreds of young men and women. In Nigeria, these social investment programs were key to maintaining stability during 2 recessions that we had between 2016 and 2019. To guarantee citizens' acceptance of people-centered programs, an inclusive decision-making model must be adopted. This would, of course, involve facilitating consultation and participation of people at the constituency level in the budgeting process. This is really important because we still haven't worked out the fastest and most effective way of including people, especially where there are large numbers, in the whole process of preparing budgets and thinking through budgets. But this inclusive process also ensures that leaders will be held accountable for implementing their promises and how their policies impact ordinary people. One of the major weaknesses of governments in many African states is the whole question of successful implementation. And this is for those of us who have been in government for any length of time. We understand that no matter how well-intentioned a government may be, or how great a policy may be, if it fails to get done, it might as well not have been started in the first place. It's a major problem that we have, how to implement, how to get things done. 2 African countries, and this is a true story, wanted to build special economic zones. To build factories, and this special economic zones, or to build factories for fast-moving products that would be manufactured cheaper than in China. They hired the same expert and paid $2 million as consultancy. They both had enough money to execute the projects, that is the special economic zones. And they were both committed to the projects. In 4 years, one of those countries built 6 special economic zones. The other, the wealthier country, couldn't even complete 1. And this is really a tragedy that we're experiencing in the whole business of implementing. Policy itself is cheap. We'll always have policy. The whole question is how to get things done. The Chinese, during the COVID-19 pandemic, built a 1,000-bed hospital, fully equipped, ready to use in 7 days flat. Now, these guys are not spirits, they're just serious. So governments must be intentional about implementation. We must insist on diligent planning, to develop or hire and pay the best talents well. It was Lee Kuan Yew, the legendary leader of Singapore, who transformed that island state from third world to first world, who said about attracting the best talent to public service. He said, and I quote, he said, you must attract the best people. If you underpay them, you'll have corruption. If you pay peanuts, you will get monkeys. End of quote. I also believe that the privilege of governance must be used to render a game-changing, transformative social service. And this is important because at the end of the day, just as we noted, democracy is really about people. It is really about getting people all of the dividends that we promised them. In countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, strong social security systems, free education from primary to university, and universal health care are considered basic rights. Now, these systems didn't emerge by accident. They were designed by leaders who believed that a nation's greatness is measured by how well it treats its weakest citizens. Leaders like Einar Gerhardsen, who was Norway's post-war prime minister, helped to build the welfare state after World War II, rejecting elitism and laying the foundation for broad-based prosperity. In 1948, the National Health Service
was created in the United Kingdom under the leadership of Clement Attlee's Labour government. Despite the post-war economic problems, they pushed for health care to be free and
available to all regardless of income. Today, the National Health Service, the National Health System in the United Kingdom is one of the most cherished public institutions. And it's important for us to understand that there are always two options. The conservative
did not believe in free health. They didn't believe in free education. So there will always be an
ideological battle between those who believe that government must be people-centered and those who believe that it must be top-down, those who believe that if you give
wealthiest in society all of the resources they need, to create the opportunities for everybody else. So there will always be that ideological tension, and we have to make a choice between both.
If you look at the free education program, and your free education program, Mr. President, is one such game-changing service for now and generations to come.
Thousands of boys and girls who would never have been able to afford the cost of a good education will now go to school and become the best surgeons, AI experts, software engineers, and builders of world-class businesses. And this is really what it comes down to. That every one of these decisions, especially those that touch the largest numbers of our people, in human capital development in particular,
we will make the game-changing type of the game-changing type of revolution that really spurs a country to its highest potential, which I believe is really, the point about the free education program which Your Excellency has launched. The greatest service that government can render is to provide good-paying jobs, livelihoods.
For the many who come into the job market daily, the only way of doing that is by increased productivity. We must pay attention
to national industrial policies that will prioritize increased productivity and value addition that generates jobs. Every investment, every procurement must give a good answer to the question, how many jobs will this create? How many jobs will this great idea, will this bright idea create? To create increasing productivity requires consultation with the private sector. No matter how we slice it, the only guarantee of democracy is that governance addresses the needs of the majority. That's the only guarantee. And we must work
with our private sector to make this happen. We must intentionally develop the private sector. But ultimately, government resources are so limited. The private sector,
in many times, even where only in potential, many times bigger than government. And we absolutely need the private sector to be able to do it, to be able to do much. As I conclude, let me say, Mr. President, that your administration offers a compelling example of people-centered governance in action. At the heart of your development vision is the free quality school education program which was talked about.
Which has provided tuition-free education to over 2 million children across Sierra Leone. That initiative includes free teaching materials, school feeding, is important because it reduces inequality and it increases access, especially for vulnerable and low-income families. Complementing this is the policy of tuition-free university education for girls who are studying STEM, science,
technology, engineering, and math. And this is a bold strategic move by your government, Mr. President, to close the gender gap and position young women at the forefront of national development. The poorest countries in the world are those who keep women, who are usually about half or perhaps even more of their population, uneducated. And if you look at any of the studies, if you look at any of the surveys, the very poorest countries in the world are those who do not educate their women. Also ensuring that women must have 30%.
I thought I'll have to have more women there. Also ensuring that women must have 30% of all appointing
and elected positions by the Gender Equality and Empowerment Act, which you have also passed. It is crucial to complement the empowerment of women to be able to contribute more effectively to development and governance. The introduction of biometric civil registration and national identity cards has also helped to improve access to social services and financial inclusion, especially for rural and underserved communities. Equally notable are your government's efforts to reform access to justice, especially for women and rural communities, through the expansion of legal aid and the strengthening of local courts, and the progressive legislation like the Customary Land Rights Act. Taken together, these initiatives reflect a coherent and credible shift, one that places people, especially those on the margins, at the center of governance and national development. And this is as it should be. This is the way that it must be. A lot has been done, but I'm sure, Mr. President, you will be the first to admit.
The journey is a long one, and much more and many more things need to be done. Governance, people-centered governance,
it is a continuous process of moving as many people as possible from the bottom of the pyramid to better income and livelihood levels. It requires our constant vigilance and dedication and commitment. And today we honor a leader who has chosen to lead with purpose and with his people at heart. And I pray that this colloquium will serve not just as a robust policy conversation that we hold annually, but as a call to action, a charge to all of us, those of us who are in governance and those who are not, whether in government, civil society, or the private sector, to recommit to governance that delivers dignity, opportunity, and justice. And that is the future that our people deserve. Finally, Mr. President, I think I should now wear my other cap, which is my cap as a pastor, and to say a word of prayer for you. And let me remind Your Excellency that the Bible tells us that Moses, when he was 120 years old, his sight was
deep and his natural force was not diminished. And you are only 61, so you're still a very young man. So I pray for you that even after the order of Moses, that your sight also will not be deep. Your physical strength, your mental strength will not be diminished. And as your age, so shall your strength, so shall your favor with God, and so shall your wisdom. Happy birthday, Mr. President.
I'm sure we can do better than that. All right, thank you so very much, the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Yemi Osinbajo, for that statement. I'd like to maybe cue in a little to what you mentioned about the inclusion of women in governance. And I must commend the President, because that's something he has been pushing for, and we can see much more of that happening in Sierra Leone. Before we transition to the high-level panel discussion, I'd like us to acknowledge the presence of someone who has played a great role in the life of the President and so his academic, Mr. Alex Bokari-Lamin, who was a teacher at the Holy Family Primary School where he, like I mentioned, played a very impactful role in the life of the president during his primary school days. Mr. Alex Bokar-Lamine, if you're here, please stand. Distinguished guests, let's give a round of applause for him.
He's a very proud man at this point. I mean, it's such a great honor to have him here whilst we celebrate the president, his leadership, and also his birthday. Now, before we transition to a high-level panel session which is focused on leadership
for national development, we'll have a short musical interlude while we prepare for that. And the moderator for that panel, ladies and gentlemen, will be Madam Josephine Kamara, who is the Director General of the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. A round of applause for her, please.
Madam Josephine Kamara, Director General of the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. The Honorable Vice President, Dr. Mohamed Jude Jala. Honorable First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Fatima Bio. Your Excellency, Dr. Yemi Ushe Banjo Ekarosa. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, government ministers, and in the interest of time, I will truncate the protocols and say, let me stand, actually, matter of fact, sit on existing protocols. Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, it's a special day as we celebrate the birthday of His Excellency, President Julius Maada Bio. Happy birthday, sir. We also come together as a people to reflect on one of the most enduring legacies, his leadership. This colloquium, the first of its kind, under the theme Leadership for National Development, is an opportunity to delve into certain issues, just like the the former Vice President of the Republic of Nigeria mentioned, as well as our Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone said, the vision, values, and of course, practical pathways that define transformative leadership in our country today. We are privileged to host this conversation, and Mr. President, thank you for allowing your friends to call a session like this. Conversation with leaders who are not just shaping policies in this country, but are also living examples of innovation, accountability, as well as resilience, Blackwood resilience in Salat. There's several interpretations of it. Maybe our panelists will have a conversation on resilience. And our resilience as a people we are. Let us proceed with purpose, candor, and of course clarity, as we honor a leader, our president, whose commitment to national progress continues to inspire all of us. And I speak personally for myself. Your leadership continues to inspire me as an individual. Welcome, distinguished guests. And on that note, I'd like to invite our distinguished first panelist. I will start, first of all, with a young man. They call him Junior. Mr. Anthony Navu Jr., CEO of Africa Young Voices Media Group and Council Member, Sierra Leone Chamber of Commerce. He was Council Member, Sierra Leone Chamber of Commerce from 2018 to 2024. Yes, you may sit next to me. And I'll reserve the middle seat for the last person I will introduce. The next person I will introduce to join this panelist is Honorable Sheku Ahmed Antabali Banguri, our distinguished Minister of Finance. Thank you very much for joining us on stage. You may sit on my far right. And let me take this opportunity to introduce the last but a very distinguished personality, Dr. David Moini Asenge, who is our Chief Minister, Republic of Sierra Leone. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me just deep dive into this straight because we really do not have a lot of time. Let me start by asking Dr. David Senge, to guide us through this discussion. First of all, I would like to briefly hear short statements from each of you about your perspectives, beginning with you, Dr. Senge, on this whole topic. Leadership for national development. What do you make of that?
Thank you very much, and I would like to join everybody to wish His Excellency a wonderful, happy birthday. I think it's very simple. You cannot have national development without a vision. And national development can only be measured in impact. Impact is not what's in paper, it's not what's in people's lives. And when they think, what can do? It makes you say, vision, inspire, and have to. Now, what we do does not always lead to the impact that is felt on the finest parts of the country and by everybody. And for me, as I thought about the topic and prepared, I needed to think about center, every visionary policy principle impacts stories on people's lives. That's what I'm trying to think about this.
You're the chief innovator in this country. Of course, without innovation, with innovation comes with support. If you don't have the finances, you cannot move innovation. Honorable Minister of Finance, Sheku and Fansamani Benver. From the finance or economic point of view, let me hear your perspective on national leadership for national development.
Thank you very much. I join Your Excellency extending very warm gratitude to you with best wishes, life, God shine with this nation. Very proud of it and very inspired by the keynote speaker. I think it is clearly context. For development, we need leadership. We need effective and lasting leadership. And remind you, leadership provides us with the vision, direction, motivation, inspiration, on where you want a nation to transform. And in the leadership that His Excellency has, I think he is looked at this country in history, characterized by the way our development has gone. And in the history that we are trying to pass, war was driven by particular dynamic where people felt left out, and it's permeated the entire country. So that's something you need to keep in mind first. And then second, when people feel left out, and the numbers show, our poverty numbers are still a battleground for us, something we need to fight on. So when you look at that, you say yes, people are still very poor. We badly on it. They keep progress very slow compared to other comparative countries. Not least those in Asia, for example, that we all started on the same parameters. Then you begin at the question as a leader, who has been trying for more than a quarter of a century to be at the center of this nation's transformation. You ask the question, if I take this mantle, how do I make that impact? And so, in the topic, people-centered leadership, I think all the policies that have been thought through by the leader are driven by that conviction that I must make sure that I have policies that touch on the people that I have actually given me the authority to lead them. And so you see that in everything that has been driven since the Excellency came to power, almost 7 years ago, 6 years ago, they've been around people. It's education, it's speech alone, it's about health, intervention, safety nets, and the like. But I'll tell you, it all doesn't come easy, because you're going to let go of some things. Anytime you put the people at the center, people interventions don't necessarily involve investments that bring money. And some aspects that are going to be given. So it's a deliberate decision. We'll discuss as we unfold how that challenge and that vision, that inspiration is being cataloged within the spheres of leadership that he is providing for us. Where you have to think beyond now and think innovative in ensuring that those policies that have been promoted, whether it's bringing women into the fold, creating resources for them, how do you sustain that? But again, I say that the topic is very well thought out, and the idea of this colloquium, which I think is the first, but it's going to be the legacy of His Excellency on how leaders must be thinking of laying the path of our country and country leadership must be really moving on. Is the best thing that we do. So that's the way that I think that the topic is crucial. The issues around money will be discussed, but I think it's very well touched.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll talk about those policies and those innovative strategies that the government has put in place. especially when it comes to our medium-term national development, which we'll dive into later. But let me ask my colleague, media personality, Mr. Anthony Nabo. What's your perspective on this whole idea and the topic for this discussion?
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Happy birthday. I wish you all the best and good health and prosperity. Thank you very much for doing all of us this opportunity to be here. I want to take the cue from our guest speaker, Professor. You made mention that His Excellency has done extremely well in terms of leadership and the private sector. But we have a long way to go, like you mentioned. It's a journey of 1,000 miles, and I believe we've taken that step, and we are now moving forward. But it's a discussion that is not going to end today, because I came back to Sierra Leone as a war child after the war began in 2000, 2001. I've been in the private sector for over 23, 24 years. I can tell you we may have all the good policies, but when it comes to implementation, the bottlenecks, I know we're going to get into all of that as we move forward with physical, personal experiences you've got in our society. Many times our leaders, governments, they have all the best of intentions. But when it comes down there, and that's why I love Professor's nomenclature as well, what you mentioned in terms of bottom-top approach. Because if we want a better society, especially with our leader, we have to manage jobs for the people. And as the idea mentioned, the democracy is all about the people. Unemployment is going skyrocket. It's so important, you know. But Sierra Leone as well is one area I think we need to look into. As we get into the conversation, we get into it step by step. Thank you, and the organization. The organizers are giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So let's dive into some of the discussions or topics that I've listed down here. One of them, let me ask you, Honorable Minister of Finance, to start with. Why some people have actually praised the government's medium-term national development goals or plans? That's the 2024 to 2030 plan. Others remain extremely skeptical about its implementation. And we just heard the Vice President talking about sometimes we have all these policies on the shelves, but when it comes to implementation, many countries, and I've lived in Nigeria for 10 years, I know for us that many countries have actually failed along those lines. What mechanisms are in place in Sierra Leone to ensure that this national medium-term plan creates real tangible impact? We're all talking about impact for not just Sierra Leoneans at the top there, but every Sierra Leonean, irrespective of where you're from, your tribe, your color, your background, your regional definition.
Thank you very much. So, of course, in the society, we all will not agree on everything. That's how policies and public policy and how people respond.
The plan is clear. It's a smart plan. So, the big game changer of the excellency, as far as the manifesto, give direction to the medium-term development. So you have.
Can you tell us what the big 5 game changers are?
Yes, of course. So the big 5 game changers are people-centered interventions. First, focus on visa, which is clearly focusing on agriculture and productivity, and it's employing more than 55%, 60% of our population. Right? We are the bottom. That's why the greatest employment is created. So that's fine. But beyond that, to be able to ensure that we drive productivity and be able to feed ourselves, especially for rice, as we always ask. Second, It is focused on human capital development, meaning consolidating the interventions that have been done in the first term on education, health, but also safety nets as well. And then it's focused on youth and women empowerment. So it has clear targets, and we will try to ensure that we target 500,000 people over the next 5 years, and creating job opportunities for them. Infrastructure, because we have to create an enabling environment, technology and innovation to back up the kind of infrastructure that will take place. But have a public service that is very effective and efficient in driving the Indian economy. Those are the 5 big changes. The medium term development plan is anchored on those. But more importantly, it is well costed. That's really what you want to know. How do you drive implementation? It's not only targeted at interventions, but costed. Costed clearly with how much is it that from country one resources will be mobilized. But again, the taxes are there, and how innovative we must be in mobilizing the resources. So you will invest in those areas that have been identified among those key game changes. So it's a side.
That shows only we're going to have about 40 factories in that section of the economic zone. And the answer to any economic is industrialization. We have to industrialize. We have to encourage the private sector. We have to act on a lot of private players around to industrialize. Reading policies close to the Ministry of Trade. I've seen a very fine policy and go as far with international communities across the world. We all admire China, the US. It's because of industrialization. You go to Rwanda, you go to Gabon, you go to Singapore. All of these countries have gone far. I always give an example of Singapore because we have similar incidents in Europe. We all started many years ago. And that's why I want us all to give a ton of round of applause to His Excellency the President for signing and especially to very soon. And I invite you to know that 99% everything we consume is IO. We have to import it. And we are highly reliant on importation. And with industrialization, we have what we have called import substitution. Can you imagine? I always laugh about this. When we speak news, we have to import it into Sahel. So thanks to His Excellency for a great vision in establishing special economic zones in Zulu. Thanks to the ministers, the chief ministers. The cabinet will be working in the last 12 months, and I assure you, people will have jobs. We have thousands and thousands of jobs. And then there will be economic growth. So let us work together and continue to partner with private sectors, not just with us, but so many other indigenous private players in Sahel that are ready to work with government.
So let me just ask a quick follow-up question for you. There must be policies, customized in certain policy areas, because we've been talking about private sector growth since Jesus was born, right? What are the bottlenecks?
So I think I mentioned that as my opening that it's going to be a journey for the lives of yours. We've taken the first step. There are lots of bottlenecks, not just in Sahel, but across Africa. You know, especially when it comes to industrialization. Because many a time we go to offices to get in like I said, like I mentioned, the leaders and there with all the best ideas. And when it comes down to that, thank you. In this case, thank
you. I'm going to have to wrap this up because we can go on and on about this debate. But thank you so much to our panelists for your wisdom, honesty, and some of the inspirational conversations that you've given us. And to all present, thank you for participating at this time in this important field. I would have given you time to close, but there are several other conversations that are coming up. So every time, maybe you will have an opportunity to come up on stage. Happy birthday, Your Excellency, and the journey ahead continues to be one of impact,
the DG to me, the Deputy DG. I want to say thank you to our panelists, the Chief Minister, Dr. David Monia-Senge, our Minister of Finance, and also Anthony Nabujino. Thank you very much for that insightful discussions. I'm sure we've learned a lot, and we now know exactly the priorities of the President, what exactly he wants for this country, what he means for Sierra Leone. We are going to have a short music interlude while we prepare the stage for the next event that will be coming up. Thank you very much for that short interview. I'll go down on stage shortly. I will invite on stage Kingsley Keke, who is going to take us through the next session of this great event. Let me also remind you that what we are witnessing here has been organized by friends of the President as he celebrates his birthday today. They want to know the leadership skills that he has exhibited for this country and for Africa. Let me invite on stage Kingsley Keke.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Your Excellency, Mr. President, Honorable Vice President, Your Excellency, former President of Nigeria, please allow me to start on protocols already established by previous speakers. Thank you so much for honoring the invitation of His Excellency to join us on the podium to have incisive discussions on how we can institutionalize leadership across Africa, not just in Sierra Leone. We feel that conversations like this should be sustained across the continent, especially because we pride ourselves as the youngest continent. So we must create platforms for building successive leadership and how we can pass the baton to the next generation of leaders that are coming after us today. And that is why this event is organized today. And thank you so much for those who have spoken after me or before me. And we also have one of the most important sessions of this event today. Actually two, because for now we're going to get a keynote speech from His Excellency, the President and the celebrant of today's event. And also we're going to get what I call a no-holds-barred discussion with His Excellency. What I can also call an unscripted session. We've always seen scripted speeches and sessions that are oftentimes predictable. But today we're going to have conversations with him to let us into his vision, into his philosophy of leadership, and why he is who he is today. Your Excellency, I know
A lot of people who have spoken about you would say you're a man of few words. The documentary showed us that. Some would also say you seldom smile. You rarely smile. Those who know you will say that he's a very difficult person to understand. But on this stage today, we would see that part of His Excellency that we've not seen before. We'd also get to learn some things we've not learned in a while.
And I will leave the snippets until he comes on stage. But first, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will join me in welcoming His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. He's a man of many firsts. Under his leadership, we have seen tremendous growth in the country. He is one of the first few presidents of the continent that declared free and quality education for citizens. One of the very few who is giving women representation across the continent, and one of the very few who maintains that people-focused leadership is his passion. On that note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, on stage as he takes his video speech.
Thank you very much. Let's do that, please. I actually feel like 61 today. I want to start by thanking you, my brother and friend, Professor Stephen Roux, for taking time to come over. This is a very, very honor for me. Thank you for coming. I want to start. I don't know if I should stand on all the existing protocols, but let me honor the Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Mohamed Jallow, Your Excellency, former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and my dear wife, Dr. Fatima Malobio, the Honorable Speaker of the Parliament, the Chief of the Defense Staff, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, government ministers, deputies, our welfare branches here, members of the press, invite the guests, my family, members and friends who are here today, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all of you. Esteemed guests, thought leaders, and fellow citizens of Sierra, I welcome all of you to our first colloquium with deep gratitude. As we are here today to explore the principles of effective leadership and governance, I'm also conscious that this date, 12th May 2025, marks my 61st year of life. And for that I say thank you to God for the gift of life. In the relentless service of our nation, as one of my students, my mates, has almost unnoticed. However, I've come to view these things not just as markers of time, but as sacred moments in life's continuous journey. Moments when we pause, as we have paused today, to reflect on lessons learned and look forward to new horizons. Ladies and gentlemen, today, I want to reflect on the formative experiences that that have shaped my beliefs. The strong connection of duty and hope that motivate our work, and the core stars that encourages all of us to turn our vision into lasting impact for the people we serve. Ladies and gentlemen, my path to public office was fully shaped by people. As a young soldier answering the call of duty during one of the darkest years in the nation's history, I learned that leadership might begin in crisis, but it must endure beyond it. Every negotiation with political and military leaders, and every conversation with concerned civilians taught me one beautiful truth. Leadership is not conferred by rank or by title, but by the bond of trust between those who lead and those who serve. My encounters with farmers in the provinces when I normally go around, market women in freighters, bustling stores, and teachers in remote classrooms have shaped my understanding of governance as a profound responsibility towards human dignity. However, before any uniform of office, my first lessons in leadership were learned at home. The family is the foundation which our earliest ideas are formed. There is no single definition of family, nor is leadership to age, gender, social status. Leadership, I have discovered, is everywhere leaders choose to start. My mother, blessed memory, was resilient, God-fearing, and unyielding in our values. She spared our household through hardship after our father passed away. Through our examples of honest hard work and unshakable faith, she taught me the truth. She taught me that true authority grows from sacrifice and trust. My late elder sister also exemplified leadership. Her sacrifice was personal comfort to ensure my education remains one of my greatest privileges. From then, I learned that the foundation of leadership does not rest in public office, but in the quiet acts of love and courage that uphold families and communities. They taught me how leadership flourishes outside traditional corridors of power. In classrooms and fields, in marketplaces, in hospital walls, women across the region have risen as actors in progress, often without recognition or reward. Their resilience reminds us that nation building demands the inclusion of women's vision, women's voices, and also women's wisdom. In my 61 years of life, I've come to realize that leaders are not born fully developed. Leaders are shaped by trials that test their resolve, by vibrations that sharpen their purpose, by innovation that expand their vision. From the direct backs to the State House, I have witnessed leadership and innovation through adversity, the rigors of training, the crucibles of conflict, and the demands of governance. At every stage, I have realized two key principles. One, the importance of foresight in anticipating both the immediate challenges and those that lie ahead. Two, the courage to embrace innovation, even when it disrupts unfamiliar. Leadership is, among other things, the art of awakening in others a desire to serve their fellow men and women. Leadership is a part of the journey of self-discovery that finds its fullest expression in acts of passion, justice, and courage. True leadership transcends the confines of the titles and the stations that we carry. It stands as a living testament to our shared humanity, the bond of trust that unites hearts and minds in the pursuit of a common good. I'd like to briefly on four paramount elements of leadership that I have learned in my journey to where I am. Leadership actually begins in humble places. In the midnight vigil of the North standing to the sick. In the steady hands of a miner delving deep into the earth where to get the minerals out. In the tireless journeys of motorcyclists linking our communities. In the patient guidance of the mother who gathers her children to read beneath fading arms. Service without the need for title or recognition is the truest measure of influence. Quiet, steadfast, and radiant with compassion. Education is the key that unlocks the mind's horizons. It kindles curiosity, empowers innovation, and forges intellectual tools with which we build our collective future. By nourishing the mind, we will cultivate the seeds of discovery and resilience that no storm can uproot. At the heart of my philosophy lies a profound conviction. All that I am and all that I have achieved is a gift from God. As our distinguished guest of honor, Professor Yemi, when you remind us in 2017, and I quote you, there is no wisdom of man that can change the man or change nations. It is the power and wisdom of God that can end the world. Ladies and gentlemen, having said that, faith alone does not work in miracles. It is the bedrock upon which we build our labor, the compass that guides us through moral uncertainties. The other thing is humility. What does it do to us? It tempers our ambition, reminds us of our limitations as leaders and as human beings. And often talk about accountability. What it does is to bind us to the promises that we serve not ourselves, but the people who place their faith in us. I did a reflection on my role as father, as husband, as former soldier, teacher, businessman, and now as president, keeps me mindful that leadership is above all an act of stewardship. Human progress is one of shared purpose. Trust is the invisible fabric that knits individuals into the community, transforming different dreams into a unified vision. When we place confidence in one another's goodness and capability, we unleash a collective energy far greater than any solitary ambition. In that unity of hearts and mind, a nation finds deep strength. As a democratically elected president, after our independence, I carry the weighty responsibility of charting the course for the nation seeing its acknowledged success. I must say, nation building is neither abstract nor immediate. It requires the patient labor of system builders who think beyond the 5-year horizon of election cycles. Our future must be anchored in core African values, reverence for wisdom of our elders, paired with the courage to innovate for tomorrow. From the hands that seal our faith to the miners deep underground, from teachers shaping the minds to civil servants quietly keeping our institutions functional, every student union contributes to our collective destiny. Leadership means service, and true service often goes unseen. I recall once a young female professional asked me during one of my anti-political campaigns whether I truly needed to be president to make a difference in Sierra. That question has haunted me and inspired me also ever since. Service requires no title. Our doctors, nurses, security forces, being collectors, motor riders, farmers, markets, women are the silent heroes whose dedication sustains our daily lives. The difference of leadership is measured not by fame or authority, but by the impact we have on others. If as a nation learn to honor every act of service, no matter how small, we lay the groundwork for enduring unity and shared purpose. Service without trying to demand humility and compassion. We must remember that the loudest voices are seldom the sole custodians of wisdom or our power. the quiet dedication and work of countless nameless men and women is the true engine of social cohesion and national progress. Education is the clearest path to empowerment. Here, when you go around people talk about empowerment, they actually mean cash in hand. But nothing is more empowering than education. Nothing, absolutely. When acquired in schools, in workshops, or in marketplaces of life, education broadens our horizons and equips us to meet the challenges of the rapidly developing world which we are living. For my first time spring quality education program, we allocated 22% of our national budget to learning, to the revitalization of technical and vocational training. Our administration has invested in human capital development because no weapon is as potent against poverty and ignorance as knowledge. A nation that feels its need or starts its intellect betrays its own potential. We must nourish the mind as possibly as we cultivate our crops in the fields. Leadership rests upon trust in the integrity of institutions and especially in the collective potential of our people. Trust is born when citizens believe their grievances will be heard, their rights protected, and their aspirations supported. Sierra past has shown us the tragic cost of signaling voices and unspoken truths. Healing these divisions require more than grand gestures. It demands robust mechanisms of dialogue, reconciliation, and justice. These mechanisms persist beyond the term of any individual president. Only when we build bridges of understanding across ethnic, religious, and regional lines can we claim unity that undergirds the state in peace. Leadership like faith requires forgiveness, recognizing missteps without allowing regret, anger, or desire for revenge. As God extends to us that grace, so must we extend it to one another. Let's learn to forgive and, if possible, forget. I engage in daily introspections. How can I be a better man, a more attentive leader and father, a more compassionate friend, a more servant-hearted president? This pursuit of improvement, I believe, is a true measure of character. Nations prosper not by new wings of the leaders, but by the strength of institutions that have founded them. Democracy is not merely a casting of ballots. It is a living system of checks and balances of civic spaces where citizens speak and are heard with dignity. From an independent judiciary to a credible electoral system, from the centralization that empowers local councils and to anti-corruption bodies that hold the power to account. Our administration has sought to fortifying framework that safeguards liberty. We have welcomed criticism, protected the freedom of expression, and broadened participation of the marginalized, knowing that the success of leadership is the resilience of our institutions under pressure. The country cannot flourish when half of its people are constrained by outdated norms. Now I come to our women. Women's leadership is not a concession to granted, ladies and gentlemen. It is a right to be affirmed. Through legislative reforms, tackling gender-based violence, financial windows dedicated to women entrepreneurs, and targeted scholarship guides in STEM, we have teared down barriers that have long dimmed the potential of our women in this country. When women rise, families stabilize, communities prosper, and nations advance. As we forge our country's future, we must ensure that every woman stands not at the margins, but at the very center of our collective effort. Children have gone the way of deep divisions, political, social, regional, and cultural. I know that in my own journey to this office, I have at times stumbled and offended a lot of people. Yet, true leadership or error, no is shackled by it. Healing starts with sincere dialogue and the ability to reconcile, creating connections instead of walls of protection. When we focus on our differences instead of building connections that go beyond them, we often pay a steep price. However, achieving unity is neither quick nor easy. It requires durable and thoughtful solutions that ensure every citizen has just cause in times of conflict. Our progress so far is a work in motion. We have come far from colonial subjugation to civil strife to the hard-won fight of democracy. But many more miles remain ahead of us. We can claim true unity as a nation when we accomplish the remaining work of the job. We must honor those who sacrifice for our freedoms, recognize the tireless efforts of soldiers and civilians alike, and commit anew to rooting out injustice where it survives. True patriotism transcends flags and national anthems. It finds expression in every civic responsibility that we carry out. An army and police force may protect our borders, but trust in the decisions and in each other's strength is what creates social impact. I honor therefore the veterans who have sacrificed for our democracy. Many are one of those. Our freedoms, the everyday citizens who fulfill their duties with integrity. All of them, I say congratulations. Keep up the good job. My hope is that future generations of Sierra Leoneans continue to be regard their citizenship as a solemn trust to build, to serve, and to preserve our heritage. I think of this program as a living laboratory for leadership. My birthday wish is to celebrate each year the emergence of new leaders, mentors, and mentees, bound by shared purpose, pioneers forging uncharted paths, thinkers whose ideas will carry our nation forward. Through the Julius Malabio Leadership and Innovation Prize, we will honor those whose service exemplifies the pillars of leadership. My true hope is that their examples kindle aspiration on the hearts of every Sierra Leonean. I'm not one grand celebration of myself, ladies and gentlemen. On this day of personal reflection, I challenge all Sierra Leoneans to embrace leadership in their respective spheres of life, whether in the household, in the boardroom, classroom, clinic, or field, or factory. Let us recommit to unity forged in diversity, to institutions built on trust, and to service offered without expectation of reward. May our people-centered leadership light the past to the future, bringing the promises of great generations yet to born, for a resilient nation and for our shared humanity. I appreciate each and every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, taking time to celebrate with me at this first Julius Malabio Leadership Program. May God bless you all. May God bless our beloved nation. And may God bless the people of Sierra Leone. I wish every Sierra Leonean born on the 12th of May a happy birthday.
I've already requested that this speech
will be given to me immediately after this event. I really need to read that speech. It's quite incisive, good, and important for anyone, for students of leadership. Another round of applause for his. Well, thank you very much, Your Excellency. This is the second part of this session. And like I promised the guests, there are parts, there are things we never knew about His Excellency that we're going to probe him and see how we can get that information out of him. Your Excellency, I only recently learned that you had a role to be the Reverend Father at some point. That's an interesting news. At some point, he also taught for a few months. Before the love of Sierra Leone and the love of country drew you to service to your fatherland, and of course, an urge to also contribute to building the country that you love. Now, something very striking from that, from cradle to this stage is that there seems to have been a smooth transition from a military level for a military man
to of course, the Democrats and the leader. Now, what would you say, looking back, prepared you for that smooth transition? Because we've seen those who struggle to drop that uniform and embrace democracy, leadership, and also governance. What would you have said prepared you for that transition?
Thank you very much. First, let me thank all of you for coming here today. I think I found a beautiful way with my friends and my family to celebrate my birthday. But if I had pursued my first initiative, which was to meet the Reverend Father, that would have been an unfortunate situation today. Not so. Because you wouldn't elect me as president. Not yet. And you are going to reach a great first lady. So, it is God that decides where we go. We plan, but He decides. He makes the final decision. I would let my brother, everything that we do, we think we are planning, we think we are actually in charge, but we are not. We are only doing according to His will. So, I am where I am because this is where God wanted me to be. And talking about transition from military to politics, when we are trained officers in the military as an officer, we are trained as a leader. It's actually leadership. But before even I came to the military, I went to the school dedicated to bring up leaders. You can easily call it the easy school. Most people call it the old school. You did not go to that school if you are not a son or nominee of a paramount chief. This was deliberate and purposeful on the part of the British who ruled us at the time. They wanted their own, the chiefs they had, their own children and nominees to be trained to take over. They didn't want problems like we have around now. A lot of people protested because they don't know what leadership is actually about. So not by my own design, like I said again. I was going to CKC and I would have been. I was actually going to CKC because of my being a Catholic, and I decided to go to school again. Not, I think, choice by default, but I also believe that there was divine direction in that. So this school taught me how to lead. We are leaders from that school, and they train you, the administration of the school, when you are in classes, in the hands of teachers. But for the rest of the day, the school children themselves are monitored by, we have office, we have our police system, we have people who decide who eats and when to eat. They are one of the fathers. And we have people who say, this is. So when you go through all of those, you are not prepared to lead when leadership calls upon you. And of course, I truly believe, even as a military man, that democracy is still the best form of government. Although when we are our uniform, you call us dictators, but this dictator then has brought more democratic credentials to this nation. Actually leading the first democratic. Like we said, democracy itself is not just about election, casting your vote. But what we call liberal democracy are the freedoms that go with democracy. I left off in 1996, and when I came back, I realized that the freedoms that should go with democracy are still not with the casting of our votes. That was why I freed the press. That was why I removed the death penalty. And we have to involve in a raft of reforms meant to open up the space, especially for the women and for the children. So my democratic credentials are not by accident. I truly believe in it. And our war was actually as a result of lack of democracy. When a few people decided they will have only one party, and that we have no option, we only vote for that same party, I was supposed to be given in the military. But we did not have the means as a people to democratically vote, because we only had one way to vote. And all of those who rose in the side had their faith in the grave. But we thought it necessary to take the risk to remove them so that this country can be free. It was not for the sake of power that we took over. I will bring that out at a later time. In fact, our mission that day, on the 29th of April 1992, was only to come and remove them and then go back to the front. But we needed people to replace them and we didn't have the right people. So we got stuck. We were government, we did not think through all the processes. But if you remove the government, you have to replace the government. I was far gone when my boss then, Strasser called me. He said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm going back to that room." He said, "Where are you living in?" I said, "No, you are the leader. You stay there and carry on. I'm going to buy it for my people." He said, "No, you have to go back here." That was how I became the most polite person to become Minister of Information. So, for me, democracy we should cherish. Even those who claim to be the proponents of democracy, let them remain on it. But I think it is the best form. When we all decide that this person is our leader, this party is the winner, let the majority decide the fate of the nation, rather than we feel it will never work, it has not worked, and I truly believe. And so my transition, you know, I don't want to give an analogy for the ornaments that we wear. We like gold. Everybody likes gold. Gold is one of the most expensive. And in fact, it's even more expensive today than ever. Gold in its raw form, nobody wants it. It's all scattered on the earth. Some in nuggets and some in sand. It has to be refined. It has to go through a refinery, a furnace, that brings it up. For us to be good leaders, we have to go through those principles. I have had to go through a lot to get to where I am. So for me, it's an honor of my life at the chief of this country. I wanted them to vote me in, not me coming in and telling them, today I'm the head. They have no say in that. In this one, as I sit here, all of them said they voted for me. But there are few people who didn't vote. I say thank you for telling me that you cannot be the same. So the transition and for me has never, because I prepared myself for it. The military training, I can see one of my bosses here, they put us through very difficult training. And like I told you, an officer cadet is trained as a leader to lead men in battle, in stress. That's why sometimes people say, oh, there's so much and you're so calm. Fear is infectious, and the leader should not express that. You have to remain calm to find solutions. Cowards die many times before their death. Once we had a situation and one of my soldiers started running in the wrong direction. He was actually going towards the enemy. And he got his death right after because he was so afraid. He did not even wait to appreciate the battle, to understand where these people are coming from. He was so afraid that he ran towards them. So, leaders must have the nerve to stand very difficult situations because everybody around you will panic, and if they see panic in your face, they will be running faster than you. So you must endeavor to be calm and to lead, because that's only way you can think properly. So, coming to this question again, for me, it has been a natural transition. I've had to go through many situations in the military, in my training, my studies, and of course, after I left, I gave myself close to 15 years before I came back. I lived in two democracies, in France and in the United States. I have been a keen observer of what makes these democracies tick. So, I was well acclimatized when I came back, and therefore I have found this incompatible with my military background.
Thank you very much. There's a lot of also
Yes, a lot of activities. This is a loaded answer from His Excellency. But I'd like to pivot a bit. I think I've asked this question some time ago, where I asked that, in your first term, education and human capital development was a key, key message and a key theme of the administration. And I remember asking you at one point, I said that that's not a politically convenient decision to take, especially because those to be empowered and those who perhaps will be ready to vote in another 10, 15 years after you are gone.
Right, and what you felt that the best way to unlock the opportunities and to set the country free and set them on the path to sustainable development
was education. And I wanted to ask, why was that a position for you, seeing that you perhaps have focused on consolidating and building your base for the next election? I like to say that politicians prepare themselves for the next election when statesmen and leaders prepare themselves or prepare the next generation. But you chose to prepare the next generation. Why was that a key theme and messaging for you? Perhaps there's a story to that.
I think you've rightly characterized this colloquium as a people-centered leadership. People-centered leadership. Sierra Leone was once known for its, or was once famous, not for arms that we carry, or for the diamonds and gold and the elements that we have, but for the knowledge that we produced and shared with the rest of the world. We were once the Athens of West Africa. That is where our comparative advantage is. We should use the diamond, gold, and every other thing to empower us, to create knowledge, and to share that knowledge. That is what we are doing. The brain power is very strong there. But if you do not invest in the human being, through education, healthcare, and food security, that human being is not fit for us in the 21st century. So for us, in as much as there were other attractive things to do politically, I actually zeroed in on human capital development, starting with education because of the limitation of resources and of course of time too. Because the best way to develop any nation is actually to develop the people. The most precious asset we have in this country are the people. And the only way you can make the people ready and fit for purpose is to educate them. Give them the knowledge, the skills necessary. Now, we have this AI. We should jump onto that because that's where the world is going. Without that, we will be at the receiving end of another
revolution. We have been at the receiving end, I always say this, of several revolutions in the world, from industrial to agrarian revolution and many other revolutions. If we do not reposition ourselves ahead of the curve to take advantage of this, we also be at it.
So for me, education is everything. I think everybody who spoke here today have reiterated the importance of education. And it is left with us to embrace it as a nation. I will put the policy out. I will insist the implementation, like Professor Subhanu said, depends on all of us. We bought books and sent them to certain parts of this country. They said the books were bought by the SSD, we will not read them. They are driving their children to pack them in the stores. We bought buses. They will vandalize the buses. Buses for school children. Like you said, when you invest, and we have not only made education accessible, we realize that there are many other aspects to education that have been affordable for our people. You can make access available, but then they cannot even pay for transition exams. We are paying for all transition exams for all students. Kids cannot go to school when they are hungry, or they go to school, they will not learn. Not even a teacher can teach properly. Although we don't provide food for them, but I know they eat. So everybody is okay that the kids can listen and the teacher can concentrate. So we have engaged in a lot of other things. What we promised in our manifesto today was free quality education. We have gone far beyond that. And to even take another dimension to it, where we have put it at the center of everything that we do, the campaign by Madam First Lady, Hands Off Our Heads. You know, we had very old hands who were always chasing these little girls, distracting them from school, getting them pregnant, and leaving them, making them liabilities to. Now, she has launched what is called the Hands Off Our Heads. And the adults are abiding. The two time means we don't want any adult to play around with our kids. Leave them to grow, especially the right child. We must nurture and nourish them. They have the same brain power, even more than some of us, the men, for a very long time. As part of our culture, we kept them in the dark and in the glorious. And now, freedom has come for them. So, education, there's so many dimensions to it. It's not enough to just make access free. The girls who have been disadvantaged for a very long time, we now have sent scholarship for them. If you're a grandchild and you're admitted, you can go from preschool to the end of university. You don't pay a dime in this country. And guess what? The anecdotal results are already showing that they are vindicating us. They have led in all transition exams. The girls, they've led the boys. And for the first time, one of the oldest universities in Africa has had the highest enrollment of students, women, for nearly 200 years. This is last year, or the year before, was the first time they had the highest enrollment in engineering.
These are not by random. These are deliberate policies that are beginning to show effect.
Of course, men told me, don't make the mistake of it is risky to put your hopes on education, because the kids and everybody that we're going to, for the first round of election, do not be ready to vote. But like somebody has said here, I did not come here for the nomenclature, especially for Senator. I came to affect people, to impact the lives of people. I want to do things that will change the narrative of this country. So while many think of politics, I'm actually thinking about the bottom of the pyramid. The many people who want to go to school but just cannot afford it. And guess what? It's not billions. Sometimes you take $20 for breakfast. And some of these people are dropping out of school for as little as $20 per time. So I chose, and with the support of my team, and I want to say a big thank you to the Honorable Vice President, the Chief Minister, and the Minister of Finance, because every time we have to pay some attention to the education. It's huge. The group, this is going to take us out of the program. I said to them, education is existential in the 21st century. If we have to sell everything that we have just to make sure that we educate the next generation of Australians, let's do it. It has not been an easy path, but we just can't if we are true leaders, not just politicians that want to be elected the next time. So I took the risk, and it's paid off. So there has to be a difference between politicians and those who really care for the development of their countries. And my choice of education has been informed by my decision to make sure that I have to change at the bottom of the pyramid.
Thank you very much for that. My next question is actually somewhat related to that, because I was having a conversation with the former president of Malawi, and she was telling me how she's adopted your concept, I call it concept, because she says, I told her in the conversation that your priority is to feed the mind through education, then the stomach through agriculture, then the body through healthcare. Now, this concept that you've adopted, is it also something that is born out of your understanding of how to view the total mind training, or is just something, is a story, is a backstory to it?
I come from the view that the human being is the most powerful that God created. And when empowered, the human being can do anything. If we are talking about going to space, talking about AI, or all the things on earth, we have created it. God created us, but we have created all that. And there is no way we can do anything that's going to lead to the development of the world if that human being is not empowered. So, for me, as I've always said, we have done this out of the conviction that when you educate a man, and in this time, for this purpose, women, please excuse me, when I say man, I mean all of you. When you educate an individual, and you feed that individual, which makes him or her capable of living a healthy life, that person with the equipment in the head, with the stomach full and the head taken care of, leave him or her, they will go anywhere in the world and thrive. So what I mean by feeding the tummy is food security, and what I mean by feeding the brain is all education in all its forms, from technical, vocational, numeracy, and everything. So if we feed the brain, and if we feed the tummy, and the person is healthy, they are good to go, and good to go anywhere. So you give them the universal key to open all doors of it is a holistic or comprehensive approach that takes care of not only the brain, making sure that it's well equipped with knowledge and skills, but also making sure that, of course, we human beings, in fact, we can live without education, we cannot live without food. So, food is a necessity. And food plays a part in being healthy. So, malnutrition at the beginning. We have just come to realize that, in fact, certain societies are more productive than others because they have taken care of malnutrition in the early stages of the children's development. And if you don't do that, you see grown-ups who cannot think properly because they lost certain things when they were growing up. In the development cycle, they did not have access. So certain, the cognitive and development and everything is never correct. So if you want this human being to be a fit for purpose human being in the 21st century, you take care of the health. And that takes me to immunization. Most of the crippling diseases that kill our children are because they've not been immunized. But I'm happy to say that Sierra Leone is among, I think, one of the few countries where our immunization rate is almost always in the 90%. We are leading Africa and the world when it comes to immunization. So when we take health, food security, and education, it is a comprehensive package. How do you want this person to be a great woman if you did not immunize the baby when she was? She becomes crippled or dies before she loses out. So you can't compact that. You have to put it together. Health, education, and food security. If you care for the human being, and you want that human being, even when they grow up, to be productive. Some people don't think properly, not because of their fault. They don't get into logic, not because of their fault. They were deprived. They did not have certain food elements, nutrients. They were lacking that when they were growing up. So even when they grow up, they struggle to understand simple logic. So it is for our women to know that education will help you even malnutrition. In fact, in Sierra Leone and in most parts of Africa, is not as a result of lack of food. It is as a result of the lack of knowledge, education among our women folk who don't know that you have protein in belly and that you have carbohydrates in this, and when you combine them, they don't have to be a formula from the UK or the US. You can make your own formula here. If you are educated to know that you need some amount of carbohydrates, some amount of protein, and some of all the other things to get the food square meal. So because of the interconnectedness of these issues, I have always said that feed the brain, feed the tummy, take care of the body, and leave that person. They will survive anywhere. They will go and fend for themselves. You don't have to. And that is what I want to do this year. Thank you very much.
Now, one final question, before we go. I want to take you on this. I know that almost no government across the globe ever exhausts their plans or policies within the tenure or the time frame of the government. But just ask you, where do you see Sierra Leone as a country, of course, Africa extension, in the next 10 years?
A country that will be recognized, has been recognized already, but we want to consolidate our position in the Community of Nations around the world as a small nation that is ambitious and want to grow. We are diversifying our economy so that we can actually enjoy sound economic growth that will lead to job creation for our young people, many of whom do not have jobs. It is a very slow process, but that is what we aspire to do. We want to consolidate our democratic gains.
We want to bring social cohesion. We want to be a nation that is together, and we can see and create just a vision that will be befitting to all of us. So, Sierra Leone before today, and especially after the war, and for the most times that I ventured out, they were still asking, is the war over now? We are even more peaceful than some of those countries. But for all they know, we were fighting for 11 years, and that's the image that they have of us. What I want is an image where, like today, if you go around the world and talk about education, even at the United Nations, they will tell you Syria. Go to Syria. If you talk about certain health indicators, like maternal mortality, even the WHO came here to find out how we did it by a 60% reduction within 3-4 years. Those are the people that we voted for us. Our anti-corruption drive has been applauded all over. Freedom of the press, we still are making progress. So, from obscurity or the dodges of wherever they have thrown us, we are emerging, and I hope that the next generation of leadership is a continuous process. America is still fixing America. Every country is still fixing their country. We have to continue. And certain sound policies that need to continue must be continued. And I speak so, especially for education and for food security and health. This is the package that will move any nation. So, from a Sierra Leone that was once the subject of the United Nations Security to a Sierra Leone that presided over the Security Council last August, and in November again, Sierra Leone will be presiding over the Security Council. That is not by chance. That is because we as an administration have taken definite steps to clean our image internationally and to get back into the fold. So, many things have been achieved. And if you talk about women empowerment, there is no country that can challenge our record. You go to the UN, if you talk about women empowerment, the first country that we cite is Sierra Leone. We have been warned. They said you cannot take the death penalty, people are going to be killing one another. I took that off. Because we are human beings, our systems are not as strong as we want. It's been there. The 1965 Act, how do we call it? The criminal library. They said you take the journalists are going to be all over on your computer. They are going to kill you. I said, well, this is what leadership is about. Taking those bold steps, brave steps that generations have not taken. It's been there. I removed that too. The journalists, they do come to me, but I don't care. I do what is right. And I'm not afraid of criticism because I'm just a human being. The Lord who created me knows I make mistakes. And that is why I pray every day for my mistakes and my sins. So why should somebody talk about my mistake? Then I want to kill him. I want to decide. The death penalty was used to kill so many people in this country. I said, not under my watch. I will take it out the arsenal, the bad politicians. That is leadership. So, if the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report gives so many recommendations to make sure that peace returns to this country. it was only after I came to power that we have recommended the majority of those recommendations. Almost all. Many of them. So, we have laid, let me conclude by saying that this administration has laid a solid foundation for Sierra Leone to solve. It is left in the next generation of leaders to actually make it take off. I cannot say Sierra Leone has succeeded. There are too many problems, too many for me to solve. My resources are limited and my time is limited. People have already counted my days. I see a lot of declarations for this position. I have not even spoken about election. Many have declared for this position. So, we Sierra Leoneans have to make the next choice. That choice should be smart, it should be done with passionate faith, and it should be for the very interest of the bottom of the pyramid, because it is for the people that we ascend and we should work for them.
Here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency, as you've never had it before. And the final vote is final round in the heated vote comments. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. A round of applause for His Excellency as he takes his seat.
A round of applause, please. Thank you so much, Mr. Kingston Okeke, for taking us through that session. And of course, thanks to Your Excellency for your inspirational leadership and your commitment to better Africa. We would also like to recognize the presence of our media partners, the FAO Voices here in Empire Foods and Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation, and also to our online media platforms as well. As we approach the end of this and reaching the let us now receive a few good messages from the following distinguished personalities. But before that, we would like to have a musical interlude while we prepare for that session. Okay.
Man, you know, nominate somebody for that single window thing. Then I am a brother. Have you done seen it? No, 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 sir. I will send over now. You man, I just send to me.
I will send our office.
much. We've come to another important segment of this program. You know, many people have worked with the president, and I'm sure if an opportunity is given to all of us here, each one of us has something to say about the president, especially when it comes to good messages. But because of time, not everyone is going to have this opportunity and privilege to say something about the president. Mr. President, Marina and I will come with our own message and the president has sent us. But for now, let me just invite on stage the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Ida Agbora, and also let me inform those who are going to come on stage to give a goodwill message. That you have 2 minutes. But I'm sure the CS is a man who keeps the time and makes sure of his time.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of High Excellency, Boss Dr. the Honorable Vice President of the European Union, former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, please permit me to stand on the It gives me the greatest pleasure to stand here before this distinguished guest to deliver this moving message in honor of His Excellency the President, Brigadier General Dr. Julius Malema. Your Excellency, sir, the years of service to our beloved nation have been indelible. Both as a military leader when you are young, energetic and determined to defend our border against one of the most brutal and operation in the and also as a politician, you have demonstrated identical ideals of fashion here to position Israel to the path of prosperity, enhance security, stability, and to create the conditions for development and prosperity. You have also challenged Israel to have a renewed sense of hope in your vision. The video and catalog exactly who you are said everything that makes me say very much about this. As a key stakeholder, who supports super forces and all the problems of the country, I bear witness to your devotion and passion to see our country transform to a political, economic, and economic hope and support. Your endeavors in this vein are notably visible through the program and policies of the government. Our nation has been challenged in recent times, but as an accomplished general and a veteran of trade policy, they are veterans, a living veteran, and a presidency. You have shown strength, character, and courage in this difficult period. So even when some of us attempted to overthrow the democratically elected government, we are insistent on the rule of law to take precedence rather than not taking the law into our hands. One of the challenges at hand to concrete steps to stay clear that any collateral damage and the integrity of the state remain intact. The ability to listen to the arguments of challenges, especially those that are made of the Republic of Shalom, stood out very strong in our minds. The passion to protect the territorial integrity of our states while ensuring brotherly conversation with sister nations remains a battle for not only to user, but to Sierra Leone as a nation. They have been an ardent protector of democracy of our country, even amidst raging turbulence in the sub-region. I bear witness that being one of your gates working with the sub-region, sir, talking to your colleagues the need for democracy to start strong, and the need for them to be back to democratic growth. Democracy is too firmly formed and completely to protect. You are a true Democrat who have belonged to the nation of Australia. You have been an astute diplomat who has always sought for consensus with your peers in the sub-region. Even as I stand here, I bear testament of you showing that censorship given to me, be able to listen and
share with my colleagues when we get covered. You have also swiftly used your own appointment in the Israeli Council to advocate for equitable positioning of African continent and other marginalized regions of the world on issues of concern to value. Such actions are not coincidental, but rather they are deep thought process in the good and very strong leader that you should to be so. I wish to affirm on behalf of the officers, men and women of the Republic of Sierra Leone Forces, as I stand here to declare our unconditional loyalty to your excellency, your government, the Constitution of the people of Sierra Leone. And we affirm our renewed hope in our agenda to transform our nation. I wish you great health, good life, and wish your family great person, great health and good life, and continued blessing as you continue to serve the good soul of government before our nation and on our side. May Sierra Leone prosper under your leadership. Your Excellency, on behalf of the men and women of the Republic of Sierra Leone, please accept my happy birthday wishes to you and prosper.
Thank you very much to our able chief and staff, Major General Amara Aidara. Next on my list, I'd like to call on the first daughter of the President, Madam Michael Abiu. A round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, Vice President Steve Gallo, former Vice President of the Republic of Nigeria, Madam First Lady, thank all of you guys for being here. Your Excellency, happy birthday. It's inspiring. The way you inspire me to grow bold and confident is the same way you inspired every young woman in Sierra Leone. That's your strong. Your love for your family and dedication to your nation inspires me every day. May God bless you. May you live a long life and wisdom. But I have one thing for you. With another year, please add one more emoji to your text messages. Because the thumbs up and the prayer hands, we need one more, please. Happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be daughter of the president. Isn't that nice? Okay, we have two more people to come forward. Let me now invite on the stage the Clerk of Parliament, Honorable Umar Farhan Tayawai.
His Excellency the President, the Honorable Vice President, His Excellency the former Vice President of Nigeria, Her Excellency First Lady, Ministers of Government, Leadership of Parliament, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Happy birthday, His Excellency Brigadier Retired Julius Malaki, President of this British Republic, wonderful Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, fountain of peace, unity, freedom, and justice. Today, we celebrate not only your birthday, but the inconceivable, unimaginable, tremendous, wondrous, and extraordinary effect and influence you have had on our lives, well-being, and personalities. Your profound stewardship, visionary, transformative, and commanding leadership has not only completed our political and operational conditions, but indelibly caress our lives in subtle and thorough ways. My utmost gratitude and respect to you, sir, for believing in me and a multitude of others. The birthday boy son. In 2013, in a small room in Home, you asked us, that is members of parliament from Home, to throw our support for someone who was not our preferred choice. In my not too confident voice, I asked, leader, why should we support Mr. X when we don't trust him? In your response, sir, you quietly said, gentlemen, let's look at the bigger picture. Focus your eyes on the ball. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these words keep resonating in my mind and have ever become my guiding spirit. I've always planned to make my major. The bigger picture is the light at the end of the tunnel. It is the national interest. It is the general good of the people. And it is taking risks and sacrificing oneself for the good of others. HE, sir, my eyes are still focused on the ball. In the pursuit of my goal, I've never been distracted. For I still hear you saying in 2013, focus your eyes on the ball. When things get tough and hope seems lost, my eyes are still on the ball. If you live.
What a wonderful day. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to talk to my man. Your Excellency, the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, my own Vice President, Honorable Mohammed Juleja, please permit me to stand on the existing protocol, Your Excellency. First, let me start by welcoming again Professor Sibani. We have a park near him. And in that park, we agreed, and the reason why I'm announcing it is so that when you see me working in Nigeria, you'll understand why. We promised I was going to be his campaign manager one day, and he is going to write my biography. And we have agreed, and I'm still holding on that side. So I want to talk to my man. Today, as we celebrate to extend my profound appreciation at the close of what I would describe as a lively, engaging, inspirational, and deeply thought-provoking session. Indeed, I feel a slight tinge of sadness that it has come to an end. But thanks to the wonders of modern technology, we can revisit these rich conversations and continue to draw inspiration from them. It also whets our appetites appropriately in anticipation of the next edition. Your Excellency, sir, allow me to extend our warmest congratulations and best wishes as you embark on another year in your remarkable journey of leadership. May your path continue to be guided by divine wisdom, clarity of purpose, and unwavering resolve. Leadership, as we know, is no easy fight. It requires discipline, balance, and composure, especially in times of uncertainty and scrutiny. You have shown all these qualities with grace, and for that we continue to ask God to continue to guide you. Your Excellency, sir, two qualities stand out distinctly in your leadership. Your conviction for inclusion, demonstrated through your commitment to bring women and young people on board, and your ability to inspire hope. By widening the circle of participation, you have brought diverse perspectives to the table, reinforcing the power and necessity of inclusive governance. It is therefore indeed an honor to seal this event and to acknowledge, appreciate, and applaud all those who have contributed to deliver detail and excellence here today. That was my very first impression on entering this building, a striving sense of transformation, and I believe that feeling resonates with everyone here today. We have not only witnessed, but experienced a powerful journey from Bishop's impact, embodied so vividly in the transformation of this very space. It stands as a symbolic reflection of the remarkable path our celebrated celebrant has walked over the years, one defined by purpose, progress, and profound change. Excellency, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, our distinguished guest speaker, we extend our sincerest thanks to you for honoring our President's invitation. Your address was nothing short of powerful, insightful, inspirational, and deeply resonant. Thank you for helping us reflect more deeply on what it means to lead with people at the center. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to all the panelists and thematic speakers whose contributions brought depth and richness to today's discussions. Your contributions have challenged and inspired us in equal measure. To everyone who joined us here today, thank you. Your presence, attentiveness, patience, and engagement has made this session all the more meaningful. I would be remiss in my duties if I do not mention those behind the scenes who have worked tirelessly to make this happen. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, whether we are born great, whether we achieve greatness, or have greatness lost to us, there comes a time when we must pause and reflect on our conduct. In moments like these, let us remember that the spotlight often rests on one individual, not to diminish others, but to illuminate our path that we can all follow. When we choose to channel our energies in support of that spotlight, and by extension, the one who carries it, we create space for collective progress. For a victim one, we educate us all. True greatness, after all, is best measured not by individual glory, but by the impact we make together. So our most distinguished celebrants, and permit me, sir, to refer to you as Raw Madam, take a moment to truly enjoy your achievements today with pride and style. Ahead of us lies the soldier's meal, thoughtfully prepared not just to delight our palates, but to offer a tantalizing preview of what the world can expect when Sir Yo proudly hosts the UN Tourism Third African Gastronomy Forum in 2026 under our celebrant's leadership. To our esteemed guests who have journeyed from afar, we hope this experience is just the beginning. May it draw you back to Freetown again and again to serve a more of vibrancy, flavor, and warmth that Sir Yo has to offer. Because you have once had taste of Sir Yo, you'll find that it's wonderful that it is. In closing, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may the lessons we have learned today continue to shape us as we work together for a better future. Thank you, Your Excellency, sir, for letting us be part of this journey, your exceptional journey. Happy birthday. May God bless you, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, for giving us the time. Somebody said the best is kept for the last, and we now want to His Excellency and Her Excellency respectfully mark and mean us so that come forward and put a toast for His Excellency.
Oh, okay, we're not in I don't understand now.
Let's have a short interview while we bring the wine.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our 200 for a very wonderful steering of the program. We know we kept you here for a while, but I think it's part of your commitment to the leadership that actually represents the hope and aspiration of our country. So a round of applause again to His Excellency the President, the happy birthday man and celebrate. We are going to now conclude with photo sessions. We are going to only have 2 photo sessions because I know His Excellency will desire to take pictures with each and every guest today. But because of the exigency of time, we are only going to have 2 sessions conducted on the stage. The first session will be His Excellency the President, Madam First Lady, the immediate past Vice President, and our Vice President. That's the first session. The second session will be His Excellency the President, Madam First Lady, the immediate past Vice President, the Vice President, the Chief Minister, and the Chief Justice. After the photo session, lunch will be served as follows. All guests with VIP tags will be served upstairs, and all guests with the tags labeled guest will be served on this lobby in the room just if you sit facing that way, it will be on your right. And we have protocol officers who support the movement of every guest. On that note, please rise so the band can lead us for the national anthem. remain where you are until the president departs. Thank you very much. The Chief Justice and the CM will join. Chief Justice and the Chief Minister will join. Thank you very much. His Excellency the President, his special guest, the First Lady and the Vice President will now proceed to open the room. Please take place and as the President leaves, I'm giving the President a round of applause, please. A round of applause for the President for a special day that spent with us there on his birthday. All of you
Yes, it don't be an exciting 3 hours about so. 3 hours here at the Bintumani conference or where presidents don't get the first leadership conference with the focus of the conference, the title was From Vision to Impact. Well, during these 3 hours, we too don't get one for CUSI president, for show president in journey from being a soldier. Yeah. So for get more explanation on this, we get the Director of Communications at the State House. We can tell people more because once the least man a village understand, I make they talk Creole now because every session don't be done in English. So Mr. Briwa, can tell Fambulem what thing don't happen here so today?
Well, today a great day in this country because we celebrate President Bio and birthday. And we don't see how people then celebrate birthdays in this country, leaders and birthday. President Bio in birthday this in 61 birthday. Now for really see how we reflect on who that President Bio be. I make them create, organize, and call them colloquium. We are in leaders them across Africa. They come and sit there and share experience, looking at the journey who side don't come out and looking at who side don't go. Who side they go and who side they, or looking at who side come out, who side they and who side they go. So today we see a lot of experiences that we share. And one of the things we learn from President Bio tell about leadership. That's how we say leadership, not to but for letting you see all the time. Leadership not means that you form for the before. Leadership actually mean you for able to inspire others. Leadership mean the impact to able to create in other people their life. President Bio also share experiences them to we from the childhood days, how I become a soldier, how get into politics, how today in a president. They also tell me say we get people in this country who don't contribute immensely towards the impact of people in their life. Talk about the teachers, talk about the nurses, talk about the traders them. He said that in daily things they wouldn't do, that half things they wouldn't do, now they impact people in life. He said, but these are the people who they see. They're not in the limelight. So all what it's therefore tell you today as Sierra Leoneans that this country here belongs to all of us. This country here belongs to US Sidom where they watch we know able come now. We all get a role for play. Now we only little political areas or we only little houses. How for move this country go before. So leadership no means a passive. You then have power of authority. Leadership can mean like host, leadership can mean like school, leadership can be that you scripture union leadership to leader in mosque, leadership to leader in church. So we all, as human beings, as Sierra Leoneans, get a role to play for shape this country a better one.
Thank you very much. That's Nami, the Director of Communication at State House. Now we get the leader of government business, Honorable Matthew Numa. So Honorable Matthew Numa, what are some of the takeaways we get from this leadership conference?
Thank you very much. First, I want for you this opportunity for wish the President a happy birthday, and I wish you all the best in life. First, to the President. You need for pay for your school fees and pay for books, They say, so that's not service day. Will you render to them people and they make you as leader become a very great person, because you take the structure of leadership from the bottom of the pyramid, for rise somebody go at the top of the pyramid. So that is an inspirational statement, and it is a tailor in leadership from where it in a military. It's if a military they teach you leadership. It also contextualize that one day into the leadership of going to a school, a both school. It's a way in a both school. It's a they teach you how to be leader. In fact, he also relates that one day to the sons of paramount chiefs that they train people for be leaders and we go replace them. So it can't wait and they say leader then shape you to the life we go to the two institutions there that they shape you how you want to be a good leader in the future. And exactly an example that they don't follow, we make to be able to achieve this high height in life.
So what are the things that we you in Parliament?
That's also good for the councils. All that one will be achieved through good policies there. And the 6th Parliament will also try for strengthening them good policies that we don't get and make sure a Parliament become a better place out there, and also make sure there are progressive laws where they pass in the interest of the state. So we are still continuing the journey for making Sierra Leone a better place, for policies them and legislations them where they gear towards the betterment of this country. In the private sectors, in any other structure, be in relationship with the international partners, that is what we are doing at the 6th Parliament for also strive very hard for make sure things that are good for this nation, we will give a back of the full force of the law.
Thank you very much. And that's me, the leader of government's business, Honorable Matthew Numa. We may try for talk about some of the things. Of course, we see during the session, a lot of issues come up where, of course, women empowerment and come out strong leadership and other things, the economy. One question, one for ask, was this a surprise for the president for celebrating 61st anniversary? So sessions like this, Boku people believe say for the OLA regularly, they come and talk on the relevant governance issues of the economy, because then frank discussions here, when they say openly, presidents get opportunity, leaders and government get opportunity for talk directly to expert them, then go understand which thing they go at the ground. So thank you very much. This is now the SLBC. Thank you for staying with us, because now, of course, the closing people around. Thank you to the team we broadcasting house, and so the crew waiting at this ground. We get David Williams, Samuel Abiose Stanley. We get also the Director General, the Deputy Director General. We get Abubakar waiting at the engineering side, and we get also the head of news, the head of television. Then people are all on put their heads together. The control room, the cameraman, them all on put their heads together for make sure SLBC give you a live coverage of the event. Thank you. Until we meet again, me, Joseph Toure.